Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are here with Austin from Ohio, and today I wish it was July 4th, 1776, because then we would be, just starting this great nation of ours that was supposed to be a safe haven for people escaping oppression throughout the world and coming here for freedom, as all of our ancestors did at some point or another. But unfortunately, it is July 4th, 2022. And we are currently, well, you all know, we are currently deep, deep into the operation that is the Great Reset, C-19 Great Reset, Great Narrative, Fourth Industrial Revolution, New World Order, stakeholder capitalism, whatever you want to call it. This is where we are. And then we have things like this first one that I brought up here. But for some reason, people are still arguing over the left and the right and this and that and Donald Trump and Joe Biden and whatever. Like, come on. Before I start reading this, I want to let you guys know something. I'm not sure if any of you watch Ken at Fear No Man, but he has informed me that he will no longer be on YouTube or anything at all. He said that there was damage to his phone and he's not going to get it fixed because he has different priorities now, and he's going to be focusing on his family and things of that nature, and just, what we all should be doing. So, publicly, I want to wish Ken well. He's a great man, makes great videos, and he's on the right side of history. And there's going to come a point in time where I'm going to have to do the same thing. But for now, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm going to be combating the agenda. This and talking to people and whatnot, things of that nature. Okay, so demonic CERN experiments will resume July 5th. Okay. And the person that wrote the article said, well, they prayed, Lord, we acknowledge that you alone are our creator. We pray that this collateral experiment at CERN would fail, and there would be no demonic power released. You alone are God. Now, when I was looking for this article, or whatever article I was going to bring up on CERN, I came across a lot of propaganda pieces of people, and not just people, but media, different types of tabloids and all that. They were really getting out there saying that, a bunch of crazy conspiracy theories showed up about CERN since it's starting up again tomorrow, and people were saying that there's demonic activity and all this stuff, and none of it's true. It's just scientists that are, trying to recreate the Big Bang so we could see what happened at the beginning of the universe, that's all. Well, see, I would be inclined to believe that if there wasn't a statue of the god of destruction, Shiva, outside of CERN. So, doing the dance of destruction in front of the portal. So, what is that? I bet none of these people could tell me that. They'd probably be like, oh, no, that's nothing. Oh, it's something. Europe is about to fire up a giant atom smasher that helps scientists discover the so-called God particle, prompting wacky internet fears it could create a black hole that swallows the world or open a portal to hell. The Large Hadron Collider in a giant physics lab near Geneva has been dormant for the last 3 years. The European Organization for Nuclear Research, also known as CERN, intends to restart the particle accelerator this week in search for antimatter and answers to more of the universe's most vexing mysteries. This is what they said. That's what all of the propaganda pieces are saying. This is from the Daily Wire. Okay. CERN will restart their Large Hadron Collider next week, July 5th, tweeted Patriot Mimsy. They are messing with things that don't need to be messed with. Oh, absolutely. And of course, right there, statue of Lord Shiva doing the dance of destruction right outside of CERN. But it's nothing, right? Right? Wrong. They don't put things there on accident. And look at the shadow that it casts. If you can see this picture here. I can't zoom in on it. The enormous 17-mile-long tube-like underground machine is built to conduct quantum experiments that could help explain how the Big Bang occurred. It works by colliding subatomic particles near light speed then recording what happens in the aftermath. 2012, CERN scientists finally observed the long-theorized Higgs boson, or so-called God particle. So they basically just go on and say that this is what it is. And they discovered the God particle and this and that. But we all know what CERN really is. I mean, come on. Did you see the weird dance that they did when they opened it up? The workers? Okay, let's see. I'm just going to kind of go down through here a little bit. There was something that I wanted to read. Oh, here it is. Actually, there is real hard science behind the idea of extra dimensions. And the Department of Energy Office of Science is involved in studying this very thing, in both theory and experiment. The DOE stated in 2017, quote, and this is from the Department of Energy, "It turns out the ideas presented in the Stranger Things episode, The Flea and the Acrobat, are pretty much spot on." So if anybody watched that, and I'm sure, because we know truth in movies, lies on the news type thing is what they do, I'm sure you'll find out exactly what this is. So the Department of Energy admitted that these extra dimensions are out there and that they're connected to CERN just by saying it when talking about CERN. But they put out all these propaganda pieces. Like, I'm not even kidding. You have no idea. Here, wait. Like, look what happens when you just go down here. People say an organization named CERN is opening a portal on July 5th. But this was in 2019. What the Large Hadron Collider is, and now ready to seek answers. CERN hoax debunked. Is the world ending on July 5th? Like, come on. This is what they do. Hadron Collider restarting after 3 years sparks doomsday conspiracies. Like, come on, guys. Look at this thing. Does that not look like what Shiva stands in front of outside of the portal? Does that not look like exactly what it is? Bizarre theory links CERN July 5th Large Hadron Collider tests to Stranger Things. Well, I'm sure I've never seen that, but I'm sure it's the truth. This is what they do. This is what they do. CERN portal theory debunked, and I'm sure they're just going to say that, oh, the scientists we talked to told us this, and that's how they debunked it. It's what they always do. But something to definitely keep an eye on. I'll be keeping an eye on it. Moving on. Okay, so here we are at New York Post. How long are they going to warn us about these power grid failures and blame it on solar storm snowplows past Earth could cause problems with power grid? We've been talking to people about this for a long time. This is what they want to do. That's why they've never updated the current grid so they could destroy it at a later date, because they have their new grid set up already. They just need a reason to transition to it. A solar storm that zoomed past Earth recently might create problems for satellites in the country's power grid, experts say. Experts said, guys. If we learn anything over the past 3 years, it's whatever the experts say is the truth. Anyone that goes against it, well, you're just a conspiracy mongerer. The nearby solar eruption snowplowed dense plasma toward Earth, triggering geomagnetic storms in at least 2 U.S. states, according to weather data. Where's the weather data? The July 1st CME hit is part of a rash of solar storms as the sun goes through a period of heightened activity. A CME is a solar eruption called a coronal mass ejection, which is a huge expulsion of plasma from the sun's outer layer called the corona. Isn't that funny? The sun, where this mass ejection of particles from the sun travels through space, and the Earth uses its magnetic field to protect us from it. The experts at spaceweather.com reported a CME passed close to Earth on July 1st. It did not directly strike our planet's magnetic field. Scientists have predicted that a near miss might have implications for the globe's magnetic field. Instead, it made itself known by snow plowing dense plasma in our direction, spaceweather.com experts said. According to the website, upper Midwest states like Minnesota and further west in the state of Washington, there were some issues. Then they always give us a little diagram that's not a real depiction at all whatsoever, because this is obviously computer generated, like everything else is. So basically, they're putting it in our minds that when something major does happen to the power grid, that we could blame it on solar storms. But not only that, I should have done this earlier because I'm on limited time. But not only are they going to blame it on solar storms, but they're also going to blame it on this here. Potential black swan for U.S. oil prices is being overlooked. Unreliable electricity grids. Failing power grids and electricity shortages across the U.S. could throw the oil market into chaos. Okay, failing U.S. power grids could be the next vulnerability in the supply chain for oil, energy trader Bryn Kelly says. Most western and central U.S. is at high risk of electricity shortfalls or disruption this summer, research has found. Problems with the power grids are potential catalysts for chaos in energy markets that are underappreciated, Kelly says. Electricity grid problems in the U.S. are potential black swan that could wreak havoc in energy markets, according to Cornerstone Futures Research Director Bryn Kelly. Someone needs to do some research on this guy, or woman, I'm not sure who it is. Because I'm sure you can trace their finances back to the elites, which you always can. In an analyst's note, the energy trader argues that failing power grids and electricity shortages could be the next vulnerability in the supply chain for oil and its products, such as gasoline. Those under the surface risks are being overlooked, and that makes them a possible black swan, an unpredicted event with severe impact. While crude oil isn't much used to generate electricity, power itself is needed to make oil, Kelly noted. So there's one more reason for them to take out the power grid. Because then they could say, oh, well, we got this world government that relies on artificial intelligence and smart cities and green energy, and we could just convert you all over to that. And people are going to eat it up like crazy. This is what they do. And everything goes back to the guidestones. Like, for instance, no matter what you believe, the whole Roe v. Wade overturning, whatever's going on there, I believe it's more divisive than anything, because that's what it's for. But the second plank on the guidestones are guide reproduction wisely. So, okay, so said another way, a failing power grid could be the next oil chain supply problem. She said, okay, so Bryn Kelly is a woman. Problems with power grids across the U.S. and other countries are a potential catalyst for chaos in energy markets that are underappreciated. The reliability of U.S. electricity grid is being taken for granted, Kelly said, but it's under pressure as the industry goes through a mandated shift from fossil fuels to clean energy sources, and within the peak summer demand ahead. She pointed to the impact of a rare 2021 winter storm in Uri, Texas, to show how disruption in electricity supply can spread to other sectors. Failures in the state's ERCOT power grid proved catastrophic for operations there, as domino effect hit energy producers as transportation, water, and telecoms. Do you see the agenda? Whatever happened in Texas, they were testing it. Texas is one of the largest oil-producing states in the U.S., accounting for 42.7% of crude oil production, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration. A power grid failure on any scale larger than a local one like we saw in Texas would be and could be potentially catastrophic. So they're putting this idea in our head. So whenever they cut the power or EMP goes off, we're not going to point the finger at them. We're going to say, oh, solar storm. Oh, it was just failing electricity grid because of climate change. Oh, no, it's this, it's that. No, this has been planned for a very, very long time. And the proof is in the pudding. All you got to do is ask the question, why hasn't our power grid, why has not it been upgraded? We're still using the same power grid that they built originally, 150 years ago or however long it was. No upgrades, no nothing. Huh. If the fallout from Uri in Texas were any indication, natural gas and oil pricing could be affected by power failures due to heat, storms, or some other unplanned event. We are not predicting or sounding alarms, but the risk is poorly quantified. It won't matter until it matters, unfortunately. I will link this because I want to get to something else here, so I'm just going to skim through this. Oh, here we go. Another boogeyman. Russian attackers may be planning or attempting malicious cyber activity to gain access to disrupt the electric grid in North America in retaliation for support to Ukraine. Ah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Like, no, that this is the New World Order. This is one of their agendas. That this is one of their big ones. They want to take out the power grid because they want to cripple the population of the world, especially in the United States, in order to bring about one world socialist totalitarian government. The consolidation of power has been happening. I mean, they literally met at the World Government Summit in the World Economic Forum and openly declared it for the world to see, and nobody batted an eye. So basically, they just go on about, oh, come on. Oh, it's going to crash my recording app. Moving on. And, of course, they have to continue this agenda here. Person of interest taken into custody in connection to a July 4th parade shooting in Highland Park. Robert Bobby E. Crimo III, 22, was taken into custody after being identified as a person of interest in the ongoing investigation by Highland Park Police into Monday's mass shooting. This guy looks like he underwent... Not even going to say it, because this video will get flagged as soon as I say it. But it starts with an M and ends with Ultra. Guarantee this guy was on Prozac, because they always are. A person of interest has been detained in connection with Monday's mass shooting, a 4th of July parade in Highland Park, Illinois, which is weird because that's a Chicago suburb, and guns are already banned there. So how did this happen? Robert E. Crimo, or Crimo III, 22, was taken into custody near Lake Forest after being stopped by a North Chicago officer who attempted to initiate a traffic spot. I think they meant stop, but okay. Authorities said during a brief news conference Monday evening. He engaged the officer in a brief pursuit, officials said, but was ultimately taken into custody without incident. Crimo, who goes by Bobby, had been identified earlier in the day by authorities as a person of interest in the investigation. Lou Jogman, chief of police for Highland Park, described Crimo was driving a 2010 silver Honda Fit with Illinois license plate DM80653. He was said to be armed and dangerous. Police said in their evening news conference that they are still considering Crimo a person of interest and not a suspect while they continue to investigate the shooting. An update is expected from authorities later on Monday. And look at that, at least 6 dead. Gunman opens fire, July 4th parade. Okay, so 24 are injured, so there's another 6. So you got 2 plus 4 is 6. And you got 6 were killed. Where's the third one at? I'm sure it's here. I'm sure I already passed it up. Okay, it's believed the suspect acted alone, having access to the building through an unsecured ladder. A firearm, high-powered rifle, was secured at the scene, authorities added. The gunman's shot sent hundreds of parade participants and attendees running for safety. The area surrounding Central Avenue and 2nd Street in Highland Park remains closed due to the active investigation. Of course. Okay, and they issued a statement. Our community was terrorized in an act of violence that has shaken us to our core, Highland Park Mayor Nancy Rotering said in a statement after the attack. On a day that we came together to celebrate community and freedom, we're instead mourning the tragic loss of life and struggling with the terror that was brought upon us. And, of course, anybody who has footage of the area to turn it into the FBI on their official website. So, these things are going to keep happening. They already told us that. They always say it. How many times is something like this going to happen until we can do the right thing? How many more of these are we going to have? Which translates to how many more of these are we going to have to shove down your throat? How many more of these are we going to have to plan out using MK Ultra, MK Naomi, Project Orion, whatever else? Moving on. Okay, I thought this one was very eerie. Very, very eerie. Only because, well, first of all, this is the World Socialist website, so already. But then you have the World Health Organization warns of war, famine, pestilence, and death. Are those not the four horsemen? Is that not exactly what it says in the Bible that the four horsemen are? But alright, everything we talk about here is crap and needs to be thrown out the window, right? So why do we always make so many connections? Why is it always explained by what we know? Why are there never any unanswered questions on our end? We're not confused about what's going on. We know what's going on. Everybody else seems to be confused. Leaders of the World Health Organization have issued their most dire warning about the confluence of crises facing humanity. Every time they say that, I'm reminded of Albert Pike. Albert Pike said a series of catastrophic events is needed to bring the world to its knees and to bring in world government. But what do I know? Including situations, because we can't say that here, the impact of the war in Ukraine on global food supplies, and the danger of widespread malnutrition and starvation. Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, Director General of the WHO, noted in his opening remarks at the organization's Wednesday press conference that cases have been steadily climbing for the last 4 weeks, with almost 4.5 million new infections a week beginning June 20th, more than 21% jump in new cases from the preceding week. The latest wave is being driven by the highly contagious and immune-evading BA.4/BA.5 Omicron subvariants. So you see, they're not done with the situation. They had it on the back burner. And they're going to bring it right up to the forefront again as soon as they need it. Global situation deaths also edged up this week, climbing over 9,000. Oh, 9,000 people in 3 years? Yeah, that sounds like a pandemic to me. 9,000 people. 3 years. Wow. None of that justifies. 9,000 people does not justify what they have done since 2020. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what people out in the world tell me with their mask and their gloves on and their 20 different boosters while they're falling dead from, quote, sudden adult death syndrome, which just showed up out of nowhere. That's the biggest load of crap I ever heard in my entire life. So, sudden adult death syndrome. Yeah, we had that for a while, actually. We just never used to report on it because it never happened, but it's happening now. Give me a break, man. Give me a break. Global situation deaths also, okay, I already read that. Okay, 7.4% weekly rise. The 3 affected WHO regions where deaths are climbing include the Americas, Europe, and Western Pacific regions where official policy is to accept the SARS-CoV-2 virus as the endemic. He cautioned, our ability to track the virus is under threat as reporting and genomic sequences are declining, meaning it is harder to track Omicron and analyze future emerging variants. The WHO Director General also underscored the persistence in the, I don't even know how to say this, vaccine, I guess we could say, or mark, because it could be, inequity that plague efforts even still. As his colleague, Dr. Mike Ryan, he's the guy that said now we have to go into people's homes in their communities to remove those infected people and isolate them in a safe and dignified manner. Yeah, you come to my house, you're going to be in for a surprise. Okay, so he's the executive director for Health Emergencies Program. Remarked later in the conference with usual dry sarcasm, we get an A for innovation, but an F for fairness. Notably, mid-year 2022 had been established as the WHO's target date to have every country vaccinate 70% of its population. Though globally, 75% of health workers and those over 60% have been vaccinated, hundreds of millions of people, including the elderly and healthcare personnel in lower income countries, still face the prospect of future waves of infections while they remain unvaccinated. Only 58 countries have hit the WHO target, while the average vaccination rate among the low income countries is still an appalling 13%. 13%. Director General Gabricius also informed the press he had attended the G7 summit in Germany, briefing the leaders on the array of urgent issues, specifically underscoring his concerns over sustained transmission of monkeypox infections across the globe, the global food crisis that has its worst impact on over 23 million people in the Horn of Africa, and the global implications of the attack on democratic rights of women signaled by the U.S. Supreme Court repealing Roe v. Wade. They got an angle with that one, I'm telling you. Some kind of angle they're playing with that. I know they are. I currently believe that they did that so whenever they go to push, vaccines again, people aren't going to be able to say, oh, my body, my choice, and then the majority of women or whoever are going to be mad, and they're going to say, yeah, you can't say that anymore because of this. And then there's going to be an even bigger push to come down on us, those of us who won't take the shot ever. Ever, ever, ever. That's the angle that I currently believe that they're going with. But again, it could be multifaceted, which it probably is. I don't know. The Director General did not elaborate on the outcome of these discussions, nor did the press ask any follow-up questions about the summit and any commitments by the G7, there were none of any substance, to address the situation and the convergence of social crises, which are causing massive disruptions to everyday life of the world's population. Yeah, we need a world government in order to combat this. Look at all these crises that we have created. That showed up out of nowhere. Yeah, we need this world government that we just so happen to have built and have planned for centuries. We need to bring this in so we can stop all of this. Nobody will die anymore. There will be no more war. No more famines or pestilences. They are responsible for all of these crises. Let me say it again. They are responsible for all of these crises. Play the Illuminati card game, you don't believe me. And of course, they come out with the monkeypox. Is the newest of the global threats, with 5,309 confirmed and suspected cases globally across 67 countries and territories. The 7-day moving average has been climbing steadily, having reached 300 new cases per day. Social media discussions among scientists have warned that based on simple modeling, the world could see 100,000 cases by August, and the first million by September if the spread continues unmitigated. Okay, data scientist Jay Whalen wrote on Twitter, "We're definitely in the unmitigated spread phase of this outbreak, which should follow consistent exponential spread for some time. It'll be interesting to see if RT, reproduction factor, slows down once it spreads beyond high-risk demographics." In front and center, there's the traders right there. Okay, let me skim down through here because I do have to go to bed soon. And I want to see this video go up. I might not get to, though. But I want to get about the... Okay, so yeah, they're basically going on about all this monkeypox stuff, and people aren't getting the what's it called, so it's getting worse. And Biden administration said this week the Department of Health and Human Services would make 56,000 doses of vaccines against smallpox available immediately, with another 300,000 in coming weeks. This figure is expected to rise to a total of 1.6 million doses of the vaccine, given as 2 doses, 4 weeks apart. The plan is to direct these vaccines to those with confirmed infections or presumed to have been exposed. Presumed to have been exposed. Remember all that contact tracing stuff they set up? You remember that? Yeah, don't be surprised you get a knock on your door and they say, hey, we think that you may have been exposed to monkeypox or whatever, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to give you a couple doses of this 4 weeks apart. Genius, really. It really is. It's genius. Okay, let's see. So the Director General did not state when he would reconvene the emergency committee, but some of the following conditions would trigger a reassessment. Increased growth rate over the next 3 weeks, cases identified among sex workers or vulnerable groups, immunocompromised, HIV-infected pregnant women and children, increase in severity or lethality, evidence of spread back into animals, and evidence of infections of different clades, lineages with higher virulence detected outside of endemic regions. One of the major concerns raised at the WHO press conference involved the international crisis caused by the disruption of supply chains, inflationary pressures that are driving food prices and food shortages that are rapidly leading to mass starvation across large regions of the world. These are being exacerbated by the global climate that has brought unprecedented drought to many areas, as in geoengineering. You see how they have all this set up and then they come in as the good guys? Like, do they not do that? They come in as the good guys and then they're like, oh, we're going to solve all these problems with our world government. We just gotta make sure, because this is an international problem. All these are international problems and they require an international solution. A one world government. It's genius, guys. It really is. Problem, reaction, solution on the smallest level and on the largest level. Across all levels. Okay, so he warned the food crisis across the globe are leading to millions of people missing meals and going hungry. This is having major physical and mental health repercussions. Oh, but I thought back when they introduced GMOs, they said there weren't going to be any more starving people ever. Or was that another lie? Oh yeah, that's right. Lack of food nutrition weakens people's immune system and puts them more at risk of disease. Children that are undernourished are at high risk of death and pneumonia, from pneumonia, and diarrheal diseases and measles. Max Lawson, head of the inequality policy of Oxfam, said the G7's failure to address the hunger crisis. The G7 say themselves that 323 million people are on the brink of starvation. Because of the current crisis, the U.S. NATO-led war with Russia, a new record high. Nearly 1 billion people, 950 million, are projected to be hungry in 2022. Time out. So now they're calling it the U.S. NATO-led war with Russia. All right. We need at least $28.5 billion more from the G7 to finance food and agricultural investments and to end hunger and fill the huge gap in United Nations humanitarian appeals. $4.5 billion, G7 announces a fraction of what is needed. Additionally, the Global Humanitarian Appeal Fund is short $37 billion. He added, the G7 wants us to think that C-19 is over. The ongoing global health crisis doesn't exist. Tell that to the many millions yet to have a single vaccine, and many still dying from this cruel disease. Well, they just said it was 9,000, right? Over 3 years. That's not many. More people died falling down and cracking their head. More people died from car crashes, heart disease, cancer. You name it. And where's C-19? All the way at the bottom. Okay. I'm going to link this for you guys because I really want to... So basically this whole thing is about Well, exactly what it says, the four horsemen. And this is exactly, it's all culminating to a single point. And all these crises are now converging, exactly as they wanted them to. Pretty soon they're going to come in, they're going to say, hey, we're going to go ahead and bring in this world government because there's so much going on. And it's just one of those things. Let's see. Let's keep going. Oh, actually, I think that's all of it. So, if you could see all of this here, this is exactly what's going on. And at the same time, they're trying to take away our right to defend ourselves from this type of tyranny. It's not going to be long now. It won't be long now. It's amazing that we've gotten to this point. 3 years in the future from 2020. Almost 3 years. 2019 is when it started, into 2019, so it's almost 3 years. And we still have people running around arguing over matters of no real importance whatsoever, not understanding what the Great Reset is, not understanding what the transhumanist agenda is, or how artificial intelligence plays a role in all of this. They don't understand that all of these different instances that they think are not connected, they don't understand that they are connected. And they prove it every day. This piece here alone proves it. Because now you got all these international organizations at the helm. And they're leading the world by the nose. And they're basically making policy now. National governments really don't do anything anymore. They answer to these people here. Because they're always like, oh, we're going to go based on what the World Health Organization says. Oh, we're going to go based on what the World Economic Forum recommends. Oh, well, the World Government Summit said this. In the United Nations, we said this. We are in an unprecedented time right now. We are in uncharted waters. And it's only going to get worse. What do you think is going to happen when the power goes out? And all of this geoengineering going on too. They're destroying the crops. They're causing severe droughts where people can't even get clean water. They're causing all of this. So they can bring in their new system. And if you remember, I forget her name, but the woman at the World Government Summit said that we're about to abandon the traditional system of money. I don't know what else to tell people, guys. Honestly, I don't. I mean, if people aren't awake at this point, it's they're lost and they'll never get it. They'll never get it because we've been warning people about this stuff for a long time. And they told us, oh, food shortages would never happen in America. Here you go. Oh, the power grid would never fail. Well, it is in a lot of places. Oh, there will never be a world government. But they're openly talking about it and saying that that's what they're doing. They even have a summit called that. Well, there will never be a great reset because people were talking about that back in like 2009, 2010. There's no great reset. Oh, well, Klaus Schwab wrote a book on it. Oh, there's no fourth industrial revolution with artificial intelligence. Oh, Klaus Schwab wrote a book on that too. And they're pushing it. Oh, man will never merge with machine. Hello? The transhumanist agenda, people are openly signing up for this to get these tech devices in their bodies. Oh, there's no Internet of Bodies, but we got the patents on that. Oh, there's not going to be a cryptocurrency system that uses your body activity data. Oh, well, Microsoft got a patent on that too. WO 2020-060606. There will never be a one world digital currency. Well, they just said that at the World Government Summit about 2 months ago. I mean, how much more proof do these people need? Every day you see the agenda flying off the pages, flying off the news right at us. You could literally read articles and spot the agenda. Just boom, 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 boom. There it is, there it is, there it is. I mean, really, the only thing that we have now really is to just stay in prayer, understand where we stand, what side of history we're going to be on, and stick to it, and not be cowards when the time comes. Not many people anymore believe in freedom. True freedom. They don't even know what it is. Like today, they just wanted to go out there and have an excuse to get drunk and shoot off fireworks and claim that they love freedom, but they don't. Because every other day of the year, they're just taking part in the demise of freedom in the world. But again, what do I know? Let's pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and glory forever and ever. Amen.